Okay, the circulatory system, two components, the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. Cardiovascular system, the heart and blood vessels. The lymphatic system has its own components. So anyway, we divide it into two anatomically. Each has its own components. Cardiovascular system, the heart, and blood vessels, which transport blood either towards the heart or away from the heart. That means we have veins and arteries. Between veins and arteries, we have capillaries. Let's go back again. The heart, arteries, veins, capillaries are components of cardiovascular system. And even inside this system, there is another system, lymphatic system, and that's what we are going to see. Okay, look, heart, which pumps blood. እሺ በእምነት ገብቻለሁ እኮ ተማሪዎቹን አገኟቸው ነው። እሺ ኦኬ ጋር So the heart pumps blood away from the center of the body, either to the upper limb, the head, neck, the abdomen, thorax, or the lower limb via arteries. The heart receives blood from the upper limb, head, neck, the abdomen, the lower limb, even from the lungs. So blood transport to the heart is via veins. If you take just the hand, in this region we have both veins and arteries. In between them, there are capillaries. Okay, so the cardiovascular system includes the heart, arteries, veins, and between arteries and veins, there are capillaries. So we will start from the heart. The heart is a complex organ, functionally, otherwise anatomically, it's not as such complex. And as I told you, this is an introduction to the circulatory system. I will tell you about the heart. Most of it is what you know in high school. You know that the heart is covered by a very thick tissue known as pericardium. The pericardium has two portions, outer portion, fibrous pericardium, inner portion, serous pericardium. The inner portion in turn is divided into two. By now you know that when we say parietal, we mean the structure near the body wall. Opposite of parietal is visceral. Near a body organ, visceral. So the part of the serous pericardium closest to the heart, visceral serous pericardium. The one which is away from the heart compared to this one, parietal serous pericardium. Let's go back again. Fibrous outer, serous inner pericardium. The serous one in turn has two layers, parietal serous pericardium and visceral serous pericardium. Between these two layers, there is a very narrow potential space. That's what we call pericardial space. Pericardial space. Okay, the pericardial space or pericardial cavity is the cavity located between these two layers. not between these two layers. Okay? There is a great difference between these two concepts. So the heart, when you look at it from the exterior, it has surfaces, base, apex, borders, and grooves. I'll show you the diagram. Before that, the first thing you see, the most anterior surface of the heart, is sternocostal surface, anterior surface, means related to the sternum and the ribs. The moment you open the thorax, the part of the heart you see is anterior surface of the heart, or sternocostal surface. And the part or the surface you don't see, which is related to the diaphragm, is diaphragmatic surface. The surface of the heart related to the right and left lungs is called pulmonary surface. So the heart has 4 surfaces: sternocostal surface, anterior, diaphragmatic surface, inferior, right and left pulmonary surfaces. Okay, right and left pulmonary surfaces. If you look at each surface, it's formed by different chambers of the heart. We shall see that later. What we call the base of the heart is superior and posterior. Superior, and it is also posterior. The apex of the heart is inferior and towards the left, apex. And the heart has also borders. And just imagine what we have seen so far, these surfaces. The lower surface, the lower border, upper border, right border, left border. So the left and right borders related to the lungs, upper border related to the base, lower border related to the apex. Not only this, the heart has also grooves. So let's look at the pericardium first. The heart, if you clench your hand like this, if you can clench your hand, that will be the size of your heart. Anatomically, if a given person clenches his hand, one hand, that will be the size or the extent of that person's heart. Okay? So it's relatively, it's smaller. And it's protected by a tissue known as pericardium. It's pale in color. It has two layers, inner serous, outer fibrous. Okay? The serous one in turn has parietal, closest to this one, visceral, which is closest to the main part of the heart or the wall of the heart. It's between that we have pericardial cavity. So the pericardium encases or protects the heart. It's flexible and it's like a balloon. It is attached in this area. Because it is attached in this area, it acts like a balloon. That means the heart pumps, or you can see the heartbeats inside that balloon. Okay? It has many functions, but in addition to protective function, it also helps for pumping and other functions. If you look at the wall of the heart, let's look at this one, epicardium. It means the visceral layer of serous pericardium. This outer layer of the heart, visceral layer of serous pericardium. And this second layer of the outer part is parietal serous pericardium. And you can take this one as fibrous pericardium. Between these two layers, there is a pericardial cavity, and it is the one which contains pericardial fluid. So the heart has its own walls. The most interior wall of the heart in cross-section, endocardium. The thickest part, which contains heart muscle, myocardium. Myo always refers to muscle fibers. So myocardium. The most outer layer of the wall of the heart. We are talking about the wall of the heart. If you section it and observe it under the microscope, the most interior layer, endocardium, the middle layer which contains cardiac muscles, myocardium, the most outer layer, epicardium. Let's look at the wall of the heart together with the pericardium so that it will be clear. As I told you, the pericardium has two layers, fibrous outer, serous inner. You see, the fibrous outer is very thick. The serous pericardium, the inner one. This serous pericardium in turn has also two layers. We call this one parietal layer, and this one visceral layer. What does it mean? Epicardium is simply the other name of visceral layer of serous pericardium. It's between these two layers we have a cavity which contains pericardial fluid. Because of that fluid, the heart can move very easily. That means the fluid helps in flexibility or movement of the heart, muscles of the heart especially. Okay, let's look at surface of the heart. Suppose you are entering from anterior aspect of the body. This is the way our heart is positioned. I told you if you clench your hand, that will be the size of your heart. Okay, so this is the base, apex, right border, inferior border, left border, superior border. Okay. And this is anterior surface. All this area. We call it sternocostal surface because it is close to the sternum and the ribs. And the surface of the heart related to the lungs is pulmonary surface. This is the right pulmonary surface. This is the left pulmonary surface. Okay. What's left? Diaphragmatic surface. The diaphragm is relatively located here. So the part of the heart related to the diaphragm, diaphragmatic surface. In fact, the diaphragm and the diaphragmatic surface of the heart are attached together. They are attached because there are these two attachments, attachment to the diaphragm and attachment to the pericardium. The heart can easily move inside the pericardium. You see, like any muscle needs bones for leverage. If there are no bones or no skeletal system, the muscles do not move by themselves. They don't. They need leverage. Likewise, the heart needs leverage because it's made up of muscle. So the diaphragm and the pericardium helps it. That's how it moves. So again, I will tell you the surfaces, sternocostal surface. You can see the right ventricle and left ventricle form the sternocostal surface. But the main part of the surface is formed by the right ventricle, some portion by the left ventricle. So if you want to see the right ventricle, You can see it the moment you open the chest, but you can't see the left atrium. You don't see the most of the left ventricle from this surface. And this pulmonary surface is formed by the right atrium. Right atrium. You don't say auricle anymore, okay? In high school, we used to call this right auricle and this one left auricle. But precisely, this is the right atrium and this is auricle of the right atrium. Auricle means an appendage or extension. Both of them have their own appendage. Appendage of the right atrium. This is the right atrium. And this is the right auricle. And this is the left auricle. And this is the left atrium. In fact, you don't see the left atrium from this side. To see it clearly, you need to see the heart posteriorly and superiorly at its base. Okay? So let's go back to the surfaces one more time. Right pulmonary surface, mainly formed by the right atrium. If you look at left pulmonary surface, it's formed by the left ventricle. So from this, logically, the diaphragmatic surface will be formed by the left ventricle. Okay? Logically. Because if most of the right ventricle parts are located in this surface, then only small part is located somewhere else. The same is true with the auricles, the atria. Right atrium, you can see it's most part in this region. That means you don't see it in the base or in this surface. So the base of the heart is mainly formed by the left atrium. Left atrium. One more time, sternocostal surface, mainly right ventricle, some portion left ventricle. Right pulmonary surface, right atrium. Left pulmonary surface, left ventricle. The base, left atrium. The diaphragmatic surface will be formed by the left ventricle. If you remove the heart, it looks like this. It has two atria, right atrium and left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Okay. Left ventricle. When we say atria, it means antechamber, an entrance to the main part, antechamber. That's why they are called atria, one of the atria. But an auricle of the right atrium, is the extension of the right atrium. And this is auricle of the left atrium, but we don't see the left atrium from this side. You must see it at the base. So the heart has also grooves. The most visible groove is this groove, anterior interventricular groove, or we call it sulcus. Located between right ventricle and left ventricle. This groove contains artery, vein, and sometimes fat. And this is what we call coronary groove. Look, superiorly, you have the two atria, right atrium, left atrium. Inferiorly, you have the two larger chambers, ventricles. Between them, there are valves. The other way around, externally, this coronary groove or sulcus looks like a crown between the atria and ventricles. That's why it is called coronary sulcus. I'll repeat it. Between the atria superiorly and ventricles inferiorly, there is a circular groove which looks like a crown. Crown, you know, a crown, coronary groove or coronary sulcus. There are also other grooves posteriorly. Whatever the case, the heart has also grooves in addition to chambers. It has base, apex. It has also borders. There is a difference between borders and surfaces. For example, this is a right border. This is inferior border. And this is left border. And this one is superior border. Logically, you can easily determine that the right border of the heart is formed by right atrium and right ventricle, mainly by the atrium. Earlier we said that the right pulmonary surface is formed by this atrium. The right border is also mainly formed by this atrium. And inferior border mainly formed by the right ventricle, some portion by the left ventricle. The left border, this border is formed by the left ventricle mainly, some portion by the left atrium. Superior border is this one. You can see the auricles, and these two great vessels form the superior border. What are these two great vessels? Aorta and pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk transports blood towards the heart, the aorta away from the heart. Together with these two trunks, there is also superior vena cava draining blood towards the right atrium, and there is also inferior vena cava somewhere here draining to the right atrium. These are general features of the heart. Look, right ventricle, left ventricle, right atrium, right auricle, inferior vena cava, inferior vena cava. These two, both of them open into the right atrium. Then, from right ventricle, blood goes towards the lungs, towards the lungs via pulmonary trunk. Look, pulmonary trunk later on divides into the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery. That means the right ventricle pumps blood towards the lungs so that it will be oxygenated. That oxygenated blood ultimately must end up in the left ventricle. How? Through these left pulmonary veins, superior and inferior, right pulmonary veins, superior and inferior, which is closely related with the left atrium. So they pump blood from the lungs towards the left atrium, from left atrium to the left ventricle, from left ventricle towards aorta, from aorta to the neck, upper limb, and so on and so forth. So what's the purpose of the heart? Is to receive blood, transmit it to the lungs so that it will be oxygenated, to receive that oxygenated blood and to pump it towards remote parts of the body. So it's a pumping organ. This is the way it looks like posteriorly. By now, you know that this is the left atrium. We will see it very clearly in the posterior aspect. As the base, it receives two veins coming from the lungs on its side, superior right pulmonary vein, inferior left pulmonary vein, superior left pulmonary vein, inferior left pulmonary vein. So it's the blood enters the left atrium, then to the left ventricle. You see, this is what we call diaphragmatic surface. This surface is attached to the, when I say attach, I mean the pericardium protecting this surface of the heart and the diaphragm are attached together, not the heart by itself. Okay? The pericardium is attached to the diaphragm at the diaphragmatic surface. This surface, diaphragmatic surface, is mainly formed by the left ventricle. Again, you can see this groove is called coronary groove or coronary sulcus. I told you coronary groove or sulcus is circular, like a crown between the atria and ventricles. And this is also another groove, posterior interventricular groove. Let's look at the previous diagram. Anterior interventricular groove. And this one will be posterior interventricular groove. Again, coronary groove. Then it extends like this. I'm telling you this because in these grooves you have precisely named arteries and veins of the heart, each named accordingly. For example, this is posterior interventricular groove. You have posterior interventricular artery. For example, this is anterior interventricular groove. You have anterior interventricular artery. So knowing or describing the heart, including the grooves, helps you remember the arteries. We shall see those vessels later. Let's look at the chambers. Each chamber has its own unique features. That's what I'm trying to tell you now. Right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. So the heart is made up of 4 chambers, 2 atria, which are superior and posterior relatively, 2 ventricles, which are larger and wider, and inferior as well. If you look at the right atrium, externally, there is a groove and an auricle. A groove extending between superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Okay? We call it sulcus terminalis. Externally, there is a groove, sulcus terminalis. This sulcus terminalis extends between superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, and of course, we have an appendage known as right auricle. But if you enter to the interior of the heart, the right atrium, its anterior surface, I'm telling you about the internal features of the right atrium. Internal. Externally, these are the main 2 features, auricle and the sulcus, means groove. But inside, there are unique features, like the anterior rough surface, posterior smooth surface. There is a fossa or a depression, which looks like an oval, fossa ovalis. There are muscles which look like a comb, pectinate muscles. There is another groove. If we have sulcus terminalis externally, we have crista terminalis internally. Their position is the same. Externally this one, internally this one. Crista terminalis means it looks like a crust. And of course, there are openings to the right atrium. By now, you know the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava open towards the right atrium. That means blood flows from inferior vena cava and superior vena cava towards the right atrium. This blood is deoxygenated blood. To be oxygenated, it must first enter to the right ventricle, then it must go to the lungs so that it will be oxygenated. Likewise, deoxygenated blood from the surface of the heart ultimately ends up in the right atrium via this coronary sinus. I will show you the diagram just to tell you the concepts in general. Blood, deoxygenated blood from the heart itself, from the walls of the heart, also must enter the right atrium through the coronary sinus. So, how many openings do you see in the right atrium? Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. Let's look at the diagram. You see, this is the right atrium. Superior vena cava, one opening. Inferior vena cava, one opening. This region is called coronary sinus. It's an opening, small opening, yes, small opening, through which, silence please, okay? Let's use our time. Hello, come on. Coronary sinus is an opening which receives deoxygenated blood from all parts of the heart so that it will be oxygenated. So let me be quick. Externally, there is a sulcus terminalis. Exactly in that position, there is a crista terminalis. And toward the left atrium, there is a depression known as fossa ovalis. These are general features of the interior of the right atrium. Left atrium, externally, there is a large auricle. You don't see a groove. But inside, if you section and enter the anterior surface is rough again because of these muscles. The roughness of the anterior surface of both these surfaces is because of pectinate muscles. This anterior surface is also rough. The difference in the extent of pectinate muscles. Here they are well developed, less developed. Posterior surface, smooth. There are smooth pectinate muscles and there are 4 openings, 4 pulmonary veins, 4. Superior 2, inferior 2, and right and left side. You see? This is the left atrium. These 2 openings, veins, 2 veins posteriorly open into the left atrium. It has an auricle. Its anterior surface is rough, posterior surface smooth. Otherwise, you don't see that much feature. Unlike the right atrium. The right atrium has fossa ovalis, crista terminalis, sulcus terminalis, and so on and so forth. So don't forget the difference. Let's go to the ventricles. Right ventricle, left ventricle. If you compare these 2 ventricles, the right one is narrow. That means it doesn't hold that much blood compared to the left ventricle. What does it mean? The left ventricle is wider than the right ventricle. That's the simplest feature. If you look at the interior of right ventricle, you will see all this. Okay? To tell you their name, trabeculae carneae, septomarginal band, infundibulum, papillary muscles, and chordae tendineae. Let's look at the diagram, and that way it will be very easy. Okay? Look, this is the right ventricle, this area. And the red color, left ventricle. If you look at the right one, it has a thinner wall compared to the left ventricle. That's all. And it is narrower compared to the left ventricle. We are talking about the right ventricle only. I told you it has trabeculae carneae, chordae tendinae, papillary muscles, septomarginal band, and so on and so forth. So what we call trabeculae carneae are muscular projections from the wall of the right atrium. From these projections, there are unique muscles called papillary muscles. This is one papillary muscle, another papillary muscle, another papillary muscle. These papillary muscles in turn are attached to cords, which look like a string. We call them chordae tendinae or tendinous cords. These cords are in turn attached to valves of the cusps. You know, tricuspid valve. In high school, tricuspid valve. It has three cusps. That's why you have anterior, septal, and posterior papillary muscles. Their purpose is to control the extent of the tricuspid valve. Let's go back again. Trabeculae carneae are projections which make the right ventricle interior rough. It appears rough. That means it's not smooth, except this area. We call this area infundibulum. It's a smooth part. But this area is rough. The roughness is due to the blood flow. Look, when blood comes from the right atrium, it enters like this, like a river. That's why this area is rough. That roughness is due to, again, the appearance of muscular projections called trabeculae carneae. From this trabeculae carneae, there are papillary muscles. When I say papillary, they look like a cone. Papillary. They look like papilla. So attached to the apex of this papilla, there are cords. The cords are in turn attached to cusps. So logically, we have three papillary muscles here. Then you have two papillary muscles in the left ventricle because we have a bicuspid valve. Chordae tendinae are tendinous cords which attach the cusps with the papillary muscles. Look, functionally, when these muscles contract, they act on the cords. When the cords contract, they affect the cusps. When the cusps are affected, either this valve, the tricuspid valve, is open or closed. And directly, all these features are open or close this valve. When blood in this physiological anyway, the right atrium has all these features. What we call septomarginal band extends from this intermuscular septum toward the anterior papillary muscles. You can take this one as septomarginal band. Inside it, it contains nerves. Okay. Look, again, trabeculae carneae are muscular projections. Septomarginal band extends from intermuscular septum to the anterior papillary muscle. Infundibulum is a smooth area of the right atrium. It has three papillary muscles because it controls the three cusps of tricuspid valve. The three papillary muscles are named accordingly. When I say accordingly, their position determines their name: anterior, posterior, and septal. The cusps of tricuspid valve are also named accordingly: anterior cusp, posterior cusp, septal cusp. When I say septal cusp, septal cusp towards the septum, means intermuscular septum. And chordae tendinae are tendinous cords between cusps and apex of a papillary muscle. All of them have their own anatomical as well as physiological features. The left ventricle is more or less the same. The difference, the left ventricle is thicker. It is also wider. It has trabeculae carneae, muscular projections. In this case, they are tiny, numerous, but they are not as such peculiar. They are tiny. Chordae tendinae, structurally they are the same, but we have two of them because we have two papillary muscles, anterior papillary muscle, posterior papillary muscles. Because we have a mitral valve or a bicuspid valve. Let's look at the diagram. Left ventricle, the wall is thicker, one. The extent of the cavity itself is wider. Its wall is thick because it pumps to the far away parts of the body. So it must have a strong, large muscle compared to this one. This right ventricle pumps blood towards the lungs, which are closest to the heart, not far away parts of the body. That's why structurally this one is thicker, has strong muscle. And it is also wider because it must contain much blood so that blood volume reaches to the most extreme parts of the body. So here you have two papillary muscles, anterior and posterior. There are trabeculae carneae, muscular projection. There are also cords, chordae tendinae. Chordae tendinae, it has also some smooth areas. But here we have a valve made up of two cusps. When I say cusp, the leaflets of the valve. Look, mitral valve, tricuspid valve, or this is bicuspid valve. And the valves have cusps. The cusps are attached to the chordae tendinae, which are in turn attached to the papillary muscles. You know how they function. This area of the left ventricle is smooth relatively, but this area is rough because when blood comes from left atrium and enters, it flows like a river. It must go to the aorta. This area is relatively smooth. Okay. This is all about the chambers. Don't forget these features of each chamber. It's also easy, not that much difficult. The heart has also valves. You know the valves by now. Valve. The valves are located at the junction between atria and ventricles. Atria and ventricles. So, not only that, they are also located between ventricles and the great vessels. If they are located between atria and ventricles, we call them atrioventricular valves. If they are located between ventricles and great vessels, we call them semi-lunar valves. It's very easy. By now, we know the tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve. It has anterior, posterior, and septal cusps. Here, each cusp has its own name because of its position bicuspid valve, anterior and posterior. No septal. No septal. Okay? The same is true with the papillary muscles, anterior papillary muscle, posterior and septal papillary muscles. Anterior papillary muscle, posterior papillary muscle. And semilunar valves are located between ventricles and the great vessels. Logically, aortic valve is between aorta and the left ventricle. Pulmonary valve is between right ventricle and pulmonary trunk. They have also, by now, they are semilunar valves. Semilunar. They look like a moon, lunar, half-shaped moon, semilunar valves. Both of them are made up of three cusps or leaflets. The aortic valve, which is located between right ventricle, aortic valve located between left ventricle and aorta. It has three cusps, posterior, right, and left. Easy. The pulmonary valve, which is located between right ventricle and pulmonary trunk, has also three cusps, anterior, right, left. The difference is here. Aorta is posterior, pulmonary trunk is the most anterior. That difference makes this appearance. The cusps are named accordingly. Let's look at the diagram again. You see, this is the anterior part of the heart, anterior surface, diaphragmatic surface, right pulmonary surface, left pulmonary surface, and when you look at the coronary area from superior aspect, okay? Superior. It's not as such complex. Look at pulmonary trunk, always anterior to the aorta. This is the aorta, pulmonary trunk. Three cusps, anterior cusp, right cusp, left cusp. Logically, the aorta will have three cusps, but the third one is posterior. Posterior cusp, right cusp, left cusp of aortic valve. But the pulmonary valve, anterior, right, and left. This closeness between them will tell you their embryological origin. They originate from a common trunk known as truncus arteriosus. That trunk later on differentiates and becomes two trunks, aorta and pulmonary. Each will have in turn its own valve. So don't forget the three leaflets and their arrangement. The anterior cusp is located always in the pulmonary valve. The posterior cusp always located in the aortic valve. Both of them otherwise have right cusps, left cusps. And again, don't forget these two openings. As I told you earlier, the heart is made up of muscles, cardiac muscle. Because it pumps, it must need motor innervation, it must need its own blood supply. After that blood is exhausted, it must return to the lungs so that it will be oxygenated. To do that, blood from the surface of the heart, one or the other, must enter the right atrium. No any other option. From the right atrium, it will go to the right ventricle. From right ventricle to the pulmonary trunk. From pulmonary trunk to the lungs. From lungs the left atrium, from left atrium to the left ventricle. From left ventricle, blood must enter the aorta. The purpose of entering is so that the oxygenated blood will flow towards all parts of the body, all. But to supply the heart, blood must enter these two openings. This is opening for right coronary artery, and this is opening for left coronary artery. So all blood vessels of the heart, one or the other, are branches of either the left coronary artery or right coronary artery. And they originate adjacent to the right cusp of the aortic valve and the left cusp of the aortic valve. It is here, left coronary artery. If it is here, right coronary artery. I will tell you some more information later. For now, we are discussing about the valves. So semilunar valves are these two. Atrioventricular valves are these two. You see, when you look at them from superior aspect, this is the way they are arranged, but relatively at the same level. So this one is tricuspid valve, and this is bicuspid valve. If this one is tricuspid valve, logically this one will be anterior cusp, septal cusp, and this one will be posterior cusp. And these are cusps of the mitral valve, and this one will be anterior, and this one will be posterior. Atrioventricular valves, relatively wider, larger cusps, and each cusp is described or designated by its own name. The same is true with the papillary muscles, but you don't see papillary muscles here to control the cusps. You don't, because the moment enough blood enters the aorta, enough blood, this cusps will close. Okay? In that case, this left ventricle is contracting and blood is entering to the left ventricle. When it is full, this opens and blood enters the aorta. The same is true here. So you don't see papillary muscles and cords here. For now, we have 4 valves, each located at different locations, and each have different cusps named accordingly. I must go to this one. Vessels of the heart, by now we know where they originate. It has its own arteries and it has its own veins. Arteries and veins. Right coronary artery, left coronary artery. This one originates on the left part of the aorta when aorta begins. This one originates on the right part of the aorta when the aorta originates. So right coronary artery, left coronary artery. Each of them have 6 branches, 6. For now, I want you to remember 1 from each. You remember posterior interventricular groove. In that groove, you have posterior interventricular artery. And this artery is a branch of right coronary artery. You see, easy. The artery, right coronary artery, on the right side of the heart, 6 branches, each of them named, and each of them have also their own names. But I expect you to remember 1 branch from each. Posterior interventricular artery is a branch of right coronary artery. If you look at left coronary artery, remember anterior interventricular groove. There you have anterior interventricular artery. So from each, 1 branch. That you must remember. You see, this is the origin of right coronary artery. And this is left coronary artery. Okay? Both of them originate at the beginning of the aorta. So the right one goes along the coronary groove towards the posterior aspect of the heart. But the left coronary artery to anterior aspect of the heart, that's why this artery is logically a branch of left coronary artery. We name this one according to its location, anterior interventricular artery. It's a branch of left coronary artery. There are other branches. If an artery is located here, marginal artery. If it is located here, left coronary artery, circumflex artery, and so on and so forth. This is the right coronary artery, marginal artery here, anterior cardiac artery. But the main branch of this is posterior interventricular artery. Okay? Look at right coronary artery, left coronary artery, anterior interventricular artery, and there is a posterior surface. See this artery, posterior interventricular artery. So if you know the location of a given, the name of the location of that part of the heart, logically you can determine the artery located there. Remembering those arteries is a must. Okay. Let's go to the previous diagram. Look. Anterior interventricular artery always associated with this vein, the great cardiac vein. Okay? I told you, venous blood means deoxygenated blood from the surface of the heart enters veins of the heart. Okay? Let me repeat, venous blood from the surface of the heart, when it is exhaustively used, that means when it is deoxygenated, it must enter veins. From veins, ultimately, it must end up in the right atrium. When it is opening into the right atrium, it is opening through one opening. That opening is called coronary opening or coronary sulcus. Okay? So just like we have arteries of the heart, which are about 12 in number, we have also about 8 veins of the heart. The largest one is called the great cardiac vein, and it is located with this anterior interventricular artery. Don't forget that again. And look at this posterior interventricular artery. Together with this, there is always one vein. We call that vein middle cardiac vein. I expect you to remember 3 veins of the heart. 3. The middle cardiac vein, the great cardiac vein located here, and of course, this vein. We call it coronary sinus. If I said sulcus, I was wrong. Coronary sinus. The sinus is just formed by a vein, a type of vein, sinus. Coronary sinus. This sinus collects venous blood from all veins and opens into the right atrium. That opening in the right atrium is called coronary opening. You don't see that in the left atrium. You don't. But in the right atrium only. That's one concept. And I want you to know also, in other parts of the body, there is a communication between veins and arteries. That means we have always more or less capillaries. It's not the case in the heart. In the heart, the arteries and the veins, they don't communicate. The arteries are end arteries. If a given artery is obstructed, the area supplied by that artery will be affected, no more supply. But in other parts of the body, you will have indirect supply, okay? Collateral circulation, collateral, indirect. It's not the case in the heart because the arteries of the heart are end arteries. The end in the heart, if one area of the heart which is supplied by a given specific artery, that area will die or necrosis occurs. That's why if a given artery is obstructed in the heart, you must cut blood vessel from somewhere else in our body and you must insert it here because there is no collateral circulation. The arteries, they don't communicate with each other. Not only that, they don't communicate to the veins as well. So if you look at this note one more time, veins of the heart are all of them tributaries of the coronary sinus. The main tributaries of the coronary sinus are these three veins. You know, the great cardiac vein, the small cardiac vein, middle cardiac vein. I haven't told you this one, I will tell you. The great cardiac vein is always associated with anterior interventricular artery in that groove. The middle cardiac vein associated with posterior interventricular artery with a corresponding artery, but this one is located in the margin of the right ventricle. We call it small cardiac vein. You must remember it. Okay? Look. This is small cardiac vein. Small cardiac vein, the great cardiac vein, and in the posterior interventricular groove, you have the middle cardiac vein. So how many veins? Coronary sinus, the great cardiac vein, middle cardiac vein, and small cardiac vein. This, yeah, small cardiac vein. You must remember as well as their location. If you want to know the arteries one more time, anterior interventricular artery is a branch of left coronary artery, circumflex branch of left coronary, marginal branch of left coronary. This, I told you, it has about 6 branches, like sinoatrial branch, AV nodal branch, marginal branch, and so on and so forth, based on their location. Right coronary artery is a sinus branch, means supplies the nervous tissues, AV node, SA node, and so on and so forth. The main right coronary artery, marginal artery, but the main branch of right coronary artery is this one, posterior interventricular artery. Another name, posterior descending artery. So you can see the heart needs blood supply. That blood supply must come from the out, which is oxygenated. And the heart also needs relief of deoxygenated blood. That must go to the right atrium via coronary sinus, like this. This coronary sinus collects venous blood. I told you we have about 8 veins of the heart. We just saw 3 of them. 8 of them, one or the other, must end up in the coronary sinus, ultimately to the right atrium. Okay? The purpose is to go to the lungs, so that it will be oxygenated. So the heart pumps blood towards all parts of the body. All. You can say also towards its wall. It's a simple but vital. It's not as such complex, but it's made up of a strong muscle. By the way, it is strong. The muscle is strong. It is strong because it has its own leverage system, pericardium and diaphragm. So from this to the surface of the heart itself, to the aorta, from aorta to the upper lip, to the neck, even the head, the brain as well. If you go down, the thorax, abdomen, pelvis and perineum, and lower limb. Suppose blood from aorta, through aorta, reach the foot because of the pumping action of the heart. Okay? Because the heart has a strong muscle, can pump blood up to the most extreme parts of the body. When it returns, you don't have any pumping organ here, or here, or here. It returns, of course, through veins. Blood returns to the veins because of muscle tone, or when the muscles contract, suppose muscles of the foot and the leg, as well as the thigh, they are large, many. When they contract, they squeeze the veins. When the veins are squeezed because of those muscular contraction, once the blood goes upward, it doesn't return back because there are also valves. Likewise, there are network or many valves along the way. That's how blood reaches here. Let's say blood is located here, it's deoxygenated, goes upward. There are valves along the way, enters several veins. Then you have inferior vena cava, the right atrium, then right ventricle, pulmonary trunk, the right lung, left lung. When it comes back, must go to the left ventricle. From the head, there are many veins through veins of the neck, like that. Large veins. From upper limb, you can see. What I'm trying to tell you is that when veins go towards the heart, their diameter increases. Okay? Because the amount or the volume of blood increases, their diameter as well increases. It's not the same in the arteries. The largest artery is aorta. When blood goes to the far away parts of the body, the diameter of the arteries decreases. Okay? Decreases. So arteries closest to the heart are wider. But as arteries away from the heart are narrower. And the opposite is true in the veins. Not only that, for example, the arteries are named according to the location where they are. By now, you know the major part components of the skeletal system. In the arm, you have brachium. In the forearm, you have ulna, radius, and so on and so forth. So this artery is brachial artery. This artery, ulnar artery, radial artery. You have clavicle, subclavian artery. You have femur in the thigh, femoral artery. Tibia and fibula in the leg, tibial artery, fibular artery. That's general, not always, okay? But most of the time, The arteries are named according to their location. That's why remembering the name of the artery is very easy. If you know its location, logically or simply, you can determine its name. Heart, aorta, from aorta, brachiocephalic artery, subclavian artery, in the axilla, means armpit, axillary artery, brachial artery, ulnar, radial. The other side also the same. Toward the head, common carotid artery, fascial artery, and so on and so forth. And the aorta has also thoracic part, thoracic aorta, abdominal part, abdominal aorta. This abdominal aorta bifurcates into two, like this. Common iliac arteries, because of the ilium bone, which also extends as femoral artery, and tibial artery, fibular artery. See? Each artery has also branches, and the branches are also named because of their location. Okay? That's why studying blood vessels of the body is easy. Not only that, if you know the name of the artery, always closest to that, you will see a vein named exactly the same. Let's take this one. Subclavian artery, subclavian vein. Axillary artery, axillary vein. Brachial artery, brachial veins. In this case, they are two in number. Ulnar artery, ulnar vein. Radial artery, radial vein. If you go here, aorta, thoracic aorta, abdominal aorta. But here, inferior vena cava. Then common iliac veins, common iliac artery, common iliac veins. Femoral artery, femoral vein. Tibial artery, tibial vein. Fibular artery, fibular vein. Here in the neck, jugular vein, but common carotid vein. Their size as well as the location is the same. Their name different. Common carotid, but internal jugular vein. And this is the external jugular vein, and this one is fascial vein. Okay, that's general. And always, more or less, between arteries and veins, there are, of course, capillaries. The other components of the cardiovascular system. You see arteries, veins. Let's look at the hand. Okay, here you can see network of arteries, network of veins. Between them, you will see capillaries. We call that capillary bed or microcirculation bed. The purpose is obvious. When blood comes to this region, it must reach the tissues. To reach the tissues, it must leave the blood vessels and enter or become part of the tissue. That's why we have capillaries, because the capillaries have thinner walls. They filter that blood. And that's why we have this microcirculation bed. So this is arterial portion, venous portion. Between them, microcirculation, circulatory bed. Microcirculatory bed. You have this extensive network so that when oxygenated blood reaches this region, must enter the tissue. That's where we have capillaries. Compared to arteries and veins, the capillaries have thinner walls. We have capillaries. The capillaries are of different types. I want you to remember this region, microcirculatory bed. The lymphatic system also begins here. Because this is extensive network, there will be flow of blood in every direction, from this direction towards here, towards the tissue. Because of that, there will be excess fluid formed here, excess fluid. That's what we call lymph. An excess fluid accumulated in this region, but not needed by or not necessary for the body function. And that's why we have the lymphatic system. Collect that lymph. I will repeat this one more time. The lymph is an accessory fluid collected or formed here because of an imbalance of blood flow collected here. Because it's not needed by the body, because it's excess, it must be filtered and removed. That's why we have the lymphatic system. It is a system because it has its own capillaries and vessels which look like veins. And of course, the main component is the lymph, the fluid itself, which is harmful. Anyway, we'll come to that one later. We have about 10 minutes. This is the arterial side, venous side. This is microcirculatory bed. You see the green area, or the green vessels are components of the lymphatic system. When they are located here, we call them lymphatic capillaries. And these are blood capillaries. There is a big difference between them functionally. These are blood capillaries located towards the arterial side. And these are blood capillaries located on the venous side. They intercommunicate. The difference is whether the blood is oxygenated or deoxygenated. Anyway, these are blood capillaries. Suppose its blood, including its nutrient, is flowing towards the tissue from this side and entering towards the venous side. Because of the pressure imbalance here, there will be always an excess fluid. That's what we call lymph. An excess fluid which is harmful, it must be filtered. So that fluid enters lymphatic capillaries. Then lymphatic vessels. The lymphatic vessels again unite in form lymphatic duct. Ultimately, it ends toward the superior vena cava. Okay? Toward the superior vena cava. Anyway, the capillaries could be of different types. I'm telling you about blood capillaries. They can be continuous or discontinuous. If they are continuous, they have less filtration capacity. That means they are located where you need much protection, like the nervous system and muscles. If they are discontinuous, they have high filtration capacity. That means there will be high flow of fluid, like in the liver, bone marrow, spleen. In between them, there are a third type of capillary, fenestrated capillary, where you need much filtration, like in the intestine, endocrine glands, and the kidney. Anyway, don't bother about this one. Remember, 3 types of capillaries: continuous, discontinuous, and fenestrated. These are blood capillaries. Lymphatic capillaries, they are more fenestrated, okay? More fenestrated. These are more, they have more filtration capacity compared to this. Okay? More. Otherwise, you can see in diameter, lymphatic capillaries and blood capillaries more or less the same. And this is histological. I'm going to pass it. And in gross anatomy, the difference between arteries and veins is a diameter. Arteries, when they go away from the heart, their diameter decreases. Veins, when they go toward the heart, their diameter increases. And the big difference is the presence of valves in veins and the absence of valves in the arteries. Otherwise, their wall is more or less the same. Which one will be thicker? Or which one contains highly pressurized blood? Logically, it will be the arteries. Because of that, they must have a thicker wall. When I say a thicker wall, they must have much amount of smooth muscle compared to veins. That's all I can tell you. This one, I want you to study it. Okay? It's what we have discussed so far. Look, the aorta has ascending part, an arch, thoracic aorta, abdominal aorta. There are the arteries going to the head and neck. Arteries going to the upper limb, like axillary, the armpit, brachial artery, ulnar artery, radial artery. At least you must remember these three in the upper limb. Okay? Brachial, brachium means arm, ulnar, radial. Based on the bones. You know clavicle, subclavian. You must remember this artery at least. Arteries of the head and the neck. I mean these two, subclavian and common carotid. I don't expect you to remember all this. It's just an introduction. Each one, vertebral artery, for example, has many branches. Subclavian also many branches. Here, the whole idea of introduction to the circulatory system is how it is organized. To know how the circulatory system is organized means overview, not detail. Upper limb, axillary, brachial, ulnar, radial, and these are also arteries. In the thorax, you have ribs. Between ribs, you have spaces, intercostal spaces. In those spaces, you have intercostal arteries. What structure do you have in the thorax? You have the esophagus, esophageal artery. The bronchus, bronchial artery. I expect you to remember intercostal arteries, esophageal arteries, bronchial arteries, because they are the most memorable. Intercostal, between ribs, esophageal, supplying the esophagus, bronchial, obviously to the bronchus, of the lungs. In the abdomen, we have abdominal aorta. Abdominal aorta. It has single branch. They are 4 in number. Paired branch. They are 6 in number. For example, we have 2 kidneys. So right and left renal arteries. Okay. You have 2 testicles or ovaries, right and left gonadal arteries. You know, suprarenal glands, right and left, and so on and so forth. So if a given viscera is paired, it will have a paired branch from abdominal aorta. We have single small intestine. It has mesenteric artery. So here, let's try to remember renal artery, gonadal arteries. That's all. Arteries of the pelvis and perineum from internal ileum. Ileum, remember? ileum. In the viscera, viscera of the pelvis and perineum. For example, what do you know? In the male viscera, the viscera located in the male pelvis, for example, you will see the testicles, the rectum, and so on and so forth. But in the female pelvis, you will see that uterus, which is single, vagina, single, rectum, single. So rectal artery, uterine artery, vaginal artery, umbilical arteries. They are named based on the viscera they supply. That's why it becomes easy. I don't expect you to remember all this, but you know the uterus, vagina, rectum, at least structure located in the pelvis. You must remember these three arteries coming from iliac artery. Arteries of the lower limb, easy. What is the main artery supplying the lower limb? Femoral artery, located close to the femur. Okay. For femoral artery, it bifurcates, divides into about 7 arteries: femoral artery, tibial artery, and fibular artery. Remember this: femoral, fibular, tibial. So I think I have about 2 minutes. Let me show you this artery one more time. Aorta, ascending aorta, arch of aorta, descending aorta. From arch, 3. Brachiocephalic, subclavian. From subclavian, axillary artery. From axillary extends as brachial. Brachial branch to ulnar, then radial. Each has its own branch also. If you go upward, from arch, subclavian, brachiocephalic, and left common carotid. This is left common carotid, right common carotid. External, and internal carotid arteries. They supply the head and the neck. Let's go to this thoracic aorta. In the thorax, you have viscera like lungs, esophagus, bronchi, and so on and so forth. In the thorax, you have arteries. And from this thoracic aorta, intercostal arteries. And this is abdominal aorta. You see, it has paired branch like renal artery, gonadal arteries, common iliac arteries, paired. Single, superior mesenteric artery. This one, superior mesenteric artery, inferior mesenteric artery, and celiac. 4 single, 6 paired. In the pelvis, you see common iliac bifurcates into internal iliac, external iliac. The femoral artery is extension of external iliac artery. Internal iliac, right and left, they supply structures. Each has 11 branches. For example, umbilical artery, uterine artery, rectal artery, vaginal artery. Each has about 11 branches. When you go to the lower limb, femoral artery at the level of knee, you will have knee, tibial artery, and fibular artery. Tibial and fibular. That's all I can tell you. The veins, more or less named accordingly. Look, I have told you so many times. Just remember the notes I have given you, okay? The text only. Then compare that. አቤት በእምነት በቃ ጨረስኩ። እሺ 6 ሰዓት ነው የሚያቆመው አልሽኝ። እሺ በቃ ሲቆም ደውይልኛ። እንደዛ ከሆነማ እኔ ደስ ይለኛል። እስከ ተኩል ቢቆይ ደስ ይለኛል። እንዴ ተገኝቶ ነው። እሺ በቃ እስከ 15 ልቆይ። እናንተ ከሆናችሁ የምትወስኑት ነው። ያቆሙታል። ኦኬ ለዲያር በቃ እሺ 10 ደቂቃ ብቻ ስጡኝና እሷን እነግራችኋለሁ። ሊምፋቲክ ሲስተም ነግሬ እንደውም አቆማለሁ። እሺ look, the veins are also named more or less like the arteries. Vertebral artery, vertebral vein, circulavian artery, circulavian vein. In the upper limb, axillary vein, axillary artery. Okay, in the upper limb, axillary artery, axillary vein. Ulnar artery, ulnar vein. So, if you know the name of the artery, close to that, you will have vein. So let's go to the lymphatic system and I will be stop there. The lymphatic system, the main purpose is to collect lymph circulated from all parts of the body except some parts, then to remove it. Removal is by the systemic circulation. When you say systemic circulation, it includes the heart, capillaries, arteries, and veins, which one or the other interconnect the system. That system always has an extra fluid known as lymph. This lymph is formed in the microcirculation bed. It's an excess fluid. First, it enters lymphatic capillaries, which are close to the blood capillaries. Then lymphatic vessels. The vessels pour that fluid into lymph nodes. Lymph nodes. These nodes contain unique cells which attack that harmful fluid. So through time, the fluid becomes clear. If it is clear, it must return to the heart. When it is returning, usually it is via the superior vena cava. So that is the whole arrangement. Lymph enters lymphatic capillaries. The capillaries join together and form lymphatic vessels. The vessels open into lymph nodes. The lymph nodes again pour the fluid into vessels, more vessels, and more vessels unite and form trunks. The trunks ultimately end in the superior vena cava. That means it enters the systemic circulation. Together with this, we have lymphatic tissues or lymphoid tissues, like the thymus gland, the spleen, tonsils, and others. This is the overview of the lymphatic system. Okay, look, take the upper limb. Lymph or excess fluid in the upper limb is collected by axillary lymph nodes, then right lymphatic trunk. Enters the superior vena cava. And lower limb, lymph enters these lymph nodes. These lymph nodes contain lymphocytes, unique cells. They attack it, it becomes more clear or less harmful. Then lymphatic vessels again, another lymph node. Then when it becomes more and more clear, you will have trunks. The trunk is one, thoracic duct. The largest one, in fact, sorry, let me rephrase it. The largest trunk is a thoracic duct. Okay, it begins in the abdomen, ascends upward on the left side of the thorax. It joins the venous system. Okay, venous system. So just take the whole body as a rectangle. Rectangle. Okay, this part of the body is lymphatic drainage by this right lymphatic trunk. Let me rephrase it again. The right part of head, right part of the neck, right part of the chest, right upper limb is by right lymphatic duct or trunk. But the rest of the body is by the thoracic duct. Thoracic duct. Whatever the case, both of them end up in the superior vena cava, which ends or opens into the right atrium. So the whole purpose of the lymphatic system is filtration. Along the way, there are lymph nodes, okay? Axillary lymph nodes. These are femoral lymph nodes, cervical lymph nodes. So the purpose of the lymph nodes is to filter that harmful fluid. Associated with this lymphatic system, you have also additional organs like the spleen, where you have accumulation of those lymphocytes, the spleen, the thymus gland, where the lymphocytes mature or produced. Okay? There are also tonsils. And don't forget this. Components of the lymphatic system: lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, lymphatic trunks, and associated lymphoid tissues. That's all, okay? Thank you very much. If you have any question, please come to the office anytime or call me. I have finished.